Hey, welcome back to the infamous podcast. This is Brian.
This is Darryl.
And Darryl, this is episode 307. Why the last comic book adaptation?
If they keep doing it like this, absolutely they need to just stop.
Well, so after I shared the notes with you, I updated the subheader, so I don't know if you read that. I said, if you're not going to do it right, don't do it.
Yeah. Again.
So,
there are a lot of
yeah.
creatively bankrupt people that think they know better than the original creator.
Well, in the fact that the original creators are executive producers. Anyway, we're going to get to that.
Yeah.
We're going to get to that. We have no news bites this week, other than Simu Liu stepped into it. And what a douche. But no, we're going to talk about Heels, episode 5, Swerve. And we're going to talk about the first 3 episodes of Why the Last Man. And we figured that can get us to about an hour and 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Probably more. We like to talk. We're very verbose.
Maybe less.
Maybe less.
Yeah.
Who knows? It might be 20 minutes of Heels talk and 8 minutes of Why the Last Man talk. Or 3. Anywho. Yeah, so real quick, Darryl, how you doing?
Not too bad. Not too bad. Football season started. Michigan's 2-0, heading to be 3-0 on Saturday. So
Ohio State's 1-1. That makes you happy. It makes me not care. Anyway, yeah. So this week I was just. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I mean, not for me, but there is a major thing that happened this week. Why don't you, share it with everyone, Brian?
I went and got a massage today.
No, it's a welcome to the party, pal kind of thing.
Oh yeah, I'm switching projects at work, and so I'm going to a different job, and yeah, that was fun. Oh no, you're talking about how I went to the first day of the Cincinnati Comic Expo today.
Continue.
Oh wait, no, you're the random PS5 that I bought this week.
Yeah. You're a part of an exclusive.
I'm part of the like your meme said. Welcome to the party, pal.
Yeah. So
with St. John McClane. So no, yeah, I got a PS5, and it was like the weirdest thing. I got an email. I thought it was spam. I almost deleted it. It was an email from the fine folks at Sony, and it said, "Hey, you're a valued Sony PlayStation Plus Network member. We have a limited number of PlayStations in stock. Starting tomorrow at 3:00 Eastern time, we're going to put them up for sale, 1 per household. So you enter into the queue, and you have to be signed in with your PlayStation Network credentials. And I got one." and I got the red. I always buy a second controller, and I got the red one.
Oh, okay. I did.
So
yeah, that's what I still need to get another controller.
I will say, to quote Carlo, my buddy Carlo, it's a chonky boy, but it's ugly. It's so ugly.
See,
it is so ugly. It's not even funny.
I actually really like the design of it, the aesthetic design of it.
Of the actual PS5.
Oh, absolutely.
It is.
I don't like it as.
It's the most plain looking thing I've ever seen.
There's nothing plain about
it.
No.
It looks like it was just like a plain box left out, like plain plastic box left in the sun, and it kind of melted funny, and someone was like, "Hey, this is art." Because there's nothing on the front. Like there's a USB-C and a USB port, and that's it. And it's just weird. There's no light because the lights are like inlaid. It's just very strange looking, and I'll get used to it because I thought the PS4 was like the best looking PlayStation they've had since the PS2 because the PS3 was just like weird. But anyway, so I think where we're at is the even number PlayStations will be aesthetically pleasing, but maybe not quite as good.
This is probably my second. Because you're right. The PS4 is for me the best looking PlayStation, and again, well, who knows? Like next time, maybe 10 years from now, it'll be the size of kind of like a Funko Pop box, with technology. stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's a lot in there. So what's the storage capacity on yours?
825.
Okay, so that's what
think
mine
it
is
is.
too. So
Yeah.
mine's 825, which I thought was a nice little like jump up from the
Although
500.
to be honest, I thought they would. And again, part of it I think is because it's a true SSD.
Yeah.
But I thought they would start off at like 1 terabyte.
Yeah.
But
well, I have 5
like,
terabytes attached to it. So, although
yeah,
it's
and
only
I have 4.
recognizing my external drive as the PS4, and it's saying I need to like reformat it. But if I reformat it, I'm going to lose everything I have on there.
Mine didn't do that.
It didn't. It
we
just
might have
automatically.
Yeah, I had no trouble playing my games. I had a little trouble kind of upgrading a couple of the games to PS5. It was they could have made it a much easier process.
I lost all of my progress on Rocket League. I'm no longer a level 60 Rocket League player. I'm a level 1.
Oh my gosh.
Which was great because I was playing in a level 1 match today. And I scored like 4 goals. So
I was like, geez, you're going to be sandbagging people.
well, I'm a defensive like specialist in Rocket League. Like I like to save goals. I like to do all that. But anyway, let's get into heels. If we will. This was an interesting what?
Yeah, I was about to say we solidified 2 heels in this episode.
Yeah, kind of, sort of, all the way around. So, okay, just real quick, something we talked about last week happened, and so spoilers. So we were talking about how we didn't want Ace to do anything permanent to Bobby, and we're just gonna jump to the end of the episode. He breaks Bobby's leg, and like I thought, I thought it was dumb. Honestly, I thought it was like, like last week's episode was called Cheap Heat. I feel like it's cheap heat for this. They never should have tried to make Ace look like a good guy. Mm-hmm. Like I would have much rather, instead of Jack being the main heel in the company and kind of a douchebag behind the scenes, I feel like it would have been more interesting to see Jack as a good man behind the scenes who takes care of his kid, his wife, all that stuff, and is struggling with, being a heel and the guy for the Duffy Wrestling League. And Ace should have just been a piece of shit who thinks he's a good guy, that's part of what it is. But they also tried to have they have everyone telling us what a good man Ace is. What a good man Ace is. Hey, your uncle's a good man. No, he's shit. He's a giant Nordic blonde-haired pile of shit.
So
we may disagree on that. I don't know.
No. Well, so they did the thing that we said when we talked about.
I mean, we've been talking about it for a couple weeks, right?
Yeah, and again, I end up one of the reviews saying, I really hope, because of the way they're trying to show that he's trying, despite of the bad shit he's done and said to people, right, he's trying to move forward. It's fine to have him step back here and there. It's fine to have him, I mean, as far as showing that he's still basically a man baby going with Trisha instead of Crystal. I could see that jealousy thing. But the minute he did what he did to Bobby, breaking his leg, that set him back past the starting point. That set him back, to that
especially because
-3
he breaks it and he's like, it was an accident. I didn't mean it. Yeah. And like, I'm sorry, Jack is just as culpable in this situation because he did not break it up. He did not make him stop. And it's horrible. No, but this, I've actually watched this one 3 times because I called you I texted you right away. I'm like, watch this, because I woke up last Sunday at like 3 a.m. and couldn't go back to sleep. So I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna watch Heels. And I waited until like a nice time to text you to watch it instead of at 4. But yeah, it was one of those things where like I had a very visceral reaction at the beginning from in a very sleep deprived state. So when I've gone back and rewatched it the 2 times, like this is the highest rated episode of the show so far. As far as like IMDb and you know, the stuff
I did
like
see that.
The just kind of the aggregates that are out there. And I agree with it. I agree. This is not my favorite episode, but I understand why this is the highest rated episode.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so let's just kind of like jump back in time. So Jack is having to. So you know, Staci got her job, and she's you know, getting ready to do work, and Jack's got to look after Thomas, and he's taking Thomas to the Duffy Dome with him to get the show going, and it was great. She tells him specifically, do not get him a gerbil, and what's the first thing he does?
Yeah.
So, but actually, the episode opens with Crystal giving a pretty damn good promo in the middle of the ring, and you don't know what's happening. Like, it's like, is this the match? Are they actually starting off with just matches without any kind of context? That's pretty cool. But it's not. It's you know, it's her rehearsal, and you know, everyone's impressed except for Ace. And the way Ace acted, that's when I'm like, okay, he's going to do something awful in this episode.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And because it started last week when, you know, he saw them at the or just watching them together and seeing them together, he automatically assumes that they are together, despite the fact that he told her, you know, I'm not your boyfriend or what have you.
In front of everybody.
So, yeah. And you still didn't apologize to her for treating her that way.
No.
He had the chance after when they were filming
for keying his car.
Yeah, he had the chance to do it when they were doing that promo at the gas station.
Yep.
But he's like, "Oh, I just want to tell you, you're doing a good job." And it was because he couldn't apologize. He didn't have the strength in himself to apologize.
Yeah.
But then they go the whole man baby route. He sees them at, you know, on the trampoline.
Yeah, that was from from last episode. That was
I'm saying that's how it leads. I know it's leading to that.
Yeah.
So you see that. So you see that, and at first you're thinking, well, not thinking. This is what I was hoping is that we may see some of that, but that's it. Yeah. And he'll somehow maybe not this episode, but maybe the next episode he gets over it, and he can move himself forward. Mm-hmm. Instead, they continually moved him back. They continually, you know, not just the promo, but when he comes in, it's like, oh yeah, Trisha's my new valet.
Yeah. Well,
and
then he back to, but before we move on to Trisha, like that whole promo, that whole thing, like Ace says he doesn't like it, and then Jack backs Ace almost immediately because he's afraid to make him feel bad, right?
Yeah.
But the best thing that we learned from all of this is that Bobby Penn is afraid of heights.
Yeah, which is it's so funny. You think back a couple episodes where he's on the top of the water tower.
Well,
and it
was an interesting layer, and like Ace had the best line. He goes, "Come on, it's as high as a couch."
But like one of my notes I have is, as far as Jack's role in all of this is he's capitulating too much to Ace to make up for what he did. The first episode.
And again, I think if Jack is set up as like a better man, like what he did in the first episode rings so much more tragic as we move on, and less petty, which is what it was. And then like he could still capitulate to Ace like he does, and it's showing how, like, especially with what happens at the end of the episode. And I mean, it still shows this, but like his compromises with Ace are what costs Bobby his ability to walk for a few weeks, and Crystal her shot in the spotlight.
Absolutely.
So but then we get Wild Bill. I'm actually like, at first I thought Wild Bill was kind of annoying, but then no,
he is actually
but like
annoying.
I didn't find it fun annoying
okay, yeah,
until last week. Then I was like, okay, I get it. He's the hillbilliest version of Ric Flair that ever existed.
Yes.
And so, but he's giving a press conference and he's talking about how he's going to do better. And he's back and he's going to go to rehab. And then he goes to Staci's work to mess with her and drops a jar of pickles. And as she's cleaning them up, they're both holding the pickle. And he goes, look at you and me, my pickle in both our hands.
Yeah. I almost had a Lady in the Tramp moment.
Almost had a Lady in the Tramp moment. But like, I thought for a second maybe Staci was going to get fired, you know? And it's like, come on, like that's too much. That's too much. But I thought it was good. It was like that whole interaction was really, really, really good because it sets up Bill like to be pretty irredeemable. And then what he does at the very end of the episode.
Yeah.
Well, not very, very end, but at the end of the episode after what happens to Bobby, it makes it better.
But yeah, he was the devil in everybody's ear. Like after that, when he got there, he was the devil in Crystal's ear saying, hey, you know, talking about when you get a feeling about something or a gut reaction or, you know, how something goes, you know, you just go with it. And, you know, he's the agent of chaos, I would say, in this episode, because everywhere he goes, like, you know, he has that confrontation early on in the episode with Jack where he's like, hey, Jack, bring me on. I know what I'm doing.
He's
what better way to.
He's the variant of Loki we deserved in Sylvie.
But yeah, he is. Yeah, I don't even want to discuss that show.
I refuse to call it Loki. I like everyone's like whenever they ask about it, I always call it Sylvie, and like I get that look, and that sigh that you just made. But yeah, no, you're right. And, you know, I keep thinking of like he is the anti-Jiminy Cricket. You know, Jiminy Cricket just wanted to help Pinocchio or Pinocchio, depending on how you want to say it, or just that strange wooden boy. But he wants to just mess with everybody because like even like when, you know, we see like in last episode with Trisha, he's messing with her and with Ace and then, you know, with everything. But yeah, it was so like the promo was so good. That scene with Staci was so good. And then we go back to the dome and like Ace is super late showing up and, you know, he just drops the bomb that Trisha's his valet, like you said.
Yeah. And he has the nerve. Like this, I mean, this is not as bad as saying it was an accident when you purposefully injured a guy. Mm-hmm. But when he has the nerve to look at or sort of look at Crystal in the eye and say, you know, it's just business. It's nothing personal.
Yeah.
Everything he's doing is personal.
Right.
Because he's a little punk that doesn't have, you know, the backbone of a man.
Yeah.
He doesn't. Like his character doesn't. And that's all well and good again. But they took it too far. We talk about one of the things I've been talking about why I don't watch a lot of dramas is because they don't know when to rein it in. I mean, I'm talking about dramas.
Did you say like, they're missing restraint?
Yes. But I mean, an example like an example like say Grey's Anatomy, something's been on so long, and and again,
when you told me that was still on, I was shocked.
Yeah, I think this is the last year, maybe. I don't know, but it's not just that show, but soap operas, you know, do that. You know, I used to watch, you know, back when I was at Miami, we'd, you know, sit in the common room in the, you know, at Shriver and watch Days of Our Lives or something while I'm eating lunch. But soap operas, you know, soap operas are basically like wrestling. You know, wrestling, you know, you do these stories that's all they are. Dramas tend to, especially, I don't want to say especially nowadays, but there is a lack of restraint in writing. We see it in not just dramas, we see it in genre shows like The Flash or Arrow, even when Arrow was good. We see that.
Right.
This is another example of that. Instead of stepping back and saying, okay, what's the easiest way to make people not like him? Why didn't they say, you know what is it, what this character is going through? Where is he going to end up and why? And how is he going there? It's like you said in the beginning of this episode, cheap heat. And that's what it was. The lowest common denominator, that's what they took. That's what they ran with, and they've made him that at least this season. There's no way he can make amends for what he did.
Right.
From this season,
at least
maybe next
eyes.
season, maybe a season. Yeah, there is no way he can right now.
But I mean, who knows if there's going to be a second season?
Yeah, that's true.
I see a lot of people in the comments on like Facebook with heels like, man, I can't wait for season 2. They have to do a season 2. It's like, you do not be planning on a season 2, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's. I mean, that whole thing with meeting Debbie that was the first time we've met Debbie, right? The assistant.
No, she's gotten like speaking roles or whatever.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah.
So she was great when she tried to stand up to Bill and just kind of like, it's like, oh yeah, Bill, Bill and her.
Yeah.
So Bill and every woman. But yeah, so like that being the A story, right? I think it did a really good job. I really dug the B story this week with Rooster. And, Rooster going to Diego Cottonmouth to be like, hey, why does he get to go? And why do you get to go over? And when is it my time? And like kind of the whole thing he's been having. And Diego's like, yeah, you want to go over? I'll let you over. I don't care. I just want to wrestle. Like, I don't care about this stuff. I don't care about Jack. I don't care about some stupid belt. I don't care about Duffy. I care about you. You're my friend. And I care about having fun wrestling. And so Rooster's like, you do that? And he's like, yeah. And they go through this battle royal, which had some like, considering we only saw a little bit of it, there are some cool spots in that battle royal. And God damn it, James Harrison. I say that every week.
Apocalypse to you, sir.
Yes, Apocalypse. Man, like I kind of want to watch James Harrison wrestle, to be honest. Like maybe this is like maybe he's gonna get to go to like AEW or something. But yeah, and so they were going through it, and he had him over. Like Rooster had Diego where he wanted him to push him out and everything, and he changed his mind, and Diego, put him out, and it was a really cool moment, and I thought it was a nice turning point. And then they get backstage, and Jack gives him some platitudes like, "Hey, good job, you did awesome." And then Rooster goes, "What's my name?" And it's like, "Oh, for fuck's sake!"
Yeah.
But then Jack's like, "Your name is whatever the 4 names were," and he's like, "Your mom calls you this, your friends call you that." Like Jack knows everything about him, and he's like, "We'll talk when we'll talk about this." And it was just one of those things where it's like, come on, man, like get over. And then did you watch the preview for next week?
Yes.
So like, just this preview for next week, he's meeting with Mike O'Malley's character, whose name I'm drawing a blank.
Whose name escapes us? Yeah.
What's he called? I don't think. No, that's not it. Anyway, I don't even remember at this point because he's. So it's just Mike O'Malley with a beard. Anyway, but he goes away, and it's like, okay, like we're gonna turn a corner, and like maybe like when they go to their thing, but the other part, the C story of this, like that's kind of like where the Rooster stuff ended for this week, for right now.
Mm-hmm.
But then the whole idea of the Georgia State Fair is they were gonna go play, and like again, like Jack, this is the version of Jack I want to see in every episode, where he's like not cursing out the Bible guy, for not sharing the same vision for the Duffy Wrestling League, but selling what they do so well in their community and why they're so over. And then even Thomas like had a nice little moment to shine.
Yeah, I really love the conversation between Jack and Rooster, because it actually showed us we've seen him struggling writing scripts. We've seen how he cares about the Federation or the DFL, but that showed right there that he knows his people. He cares about them too. And I mean, it's one of those things that opens up a little bit more of Jack himself. He had a couple good moments in this, we'll get to his promo against Wild Bill, which I thought was fantastic.
Yeah, we'll get. I want to close on that. Like, let's just save that for the video.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And it's funny enough that, like you said, that I think the story was that, doing the Georgia State Fair, because that'll get a lot of eyes on them as they're trying to grow and everything. And despite just watching the representatives for the state fair, watching these matches, it was kind of reminiscent of Staci.
Hold on, them with dinner at dinner with Jack was interesting because they were like, who is this guy? Like, this guy is just, like some bumpkin from Duffy, Georgia, because it was a lady, a dude, and, another kind of guy. And, and it was really funny to see how they changed as it went through, through them as the match continued, as the event, the night continued. But yeah.
So yeah, I did like that, and just watching them, like it reminded me of when Staci's friend, a bit of when Staci's friends were there, and seeing their reaction to the finale, I guess you would call it, the main event, and yet things go in a positive direction. When despite everything going on, they say, "Hey, you all are in."
Yeah,
and
you got the fair.
It was so interesting because I thought that's what it was going to go, but the way Jack sold it, he just had such a morose attitude, which again, I understand why, just because everything else. But then how he tells Willie, he's like, "We got it." So,
the other thing, I think what actually sealed it is because, what Ace did, Jack like kind of quit goat thinking there, and he was like, "Yeah, Bobby Pin really sells the pain." Which was good. Like, well, not good, but I mean, like, it was good for them to kind of get over the edge there. But the event ends with Wild Bill coming out after everybody's in shock. Like, the whole dome is just in silence, crickets, right? Like, I wish I had a crickets thing. And Wild Bill comes out and starts cutting this promo about how the Spade boys are letting everybody down and pissing on King Tom's memory and all of that. And like, the thing that you have to keep in mind is Tom Spade's only been dead for about a year.
Yeah.
Like, we learned that last week. We learned it's only been about a year. So he is still fresh in everybody's minds. And for him to come out and say that was huge. But yeah, when we talked about this, the first thing you talked about was Jack's promo that he cut on this after Wild Bill was like, let's do the three of us, you, me, and Ace, for the belt in a ladder match.
Yeah. That was, I thought Bill's promo was a little bit a little bit forced. I didn't catch.
I think it was supposed to feel that way.
Yeah, which is fine, but it's at the same time, it takes something away from that scene because it's like he's reading lines. And again, part of it could be that in the sense of Bill's been out of the game, sort of, so he's not, he's not on his A game. Let's just put it that way. But Jack came in with some flame and fire, and it was just like Stephen Amell did such a great job in that scene, and not just in that scene. I thought he did. To me, this was probably his best episode in the sense that he had some very, very strong scenes with not just with this one with Bill, like the first one with Bill, and also with Rooster, and just. I thought this was probably his strongest episode for, not necessarily as a character, but as the actor, and him being able to emote and just give us more of who Jack Spade is.
Not so much Tom Welling face in every scene. Here, I pulled it up. Let me just see if this will pick it up.
I decided to kill Jack, you got something you want to say to me? Hey, Bill, you make me laugh. You came back here for your roots? You came back here because the folks up north realize what I've known for a long time. You're a drunken has-been who's got no place in their ring, just like you got no place in mine. Now, if you're gonna make me teach you that the hard way, so be it. I'll give you your shot. We can go up in the ring, you can pretend like it's 1995, but you are not gonna walk out of there, no sir. And if y'all want this belt on the line, then so be it. I'll put the belt on the line, but you got no chance, none whatsoever, because this belt is staying right here in my hands.
So I feel almost like this is a face turn for him.
Yeah, the way, especially you hear how the crowd reacted to
Right.
it.
No, I mean they're reacting because they like Wild Bill, right? And Wild Bill is the face in this with the fans, even though behind the scenes to us he's the biggest heel in the show. But yeah, I just like you said, like one, Steven nailed it. I mean,
Yeah.
You know, he's still not the superior Amell. You know, Robbie, we got you, boy. But which upload comes back soon.
Oh, good. I didn't know that.
Anyway, but no, that was just great, and I'll be honest, that was the second best promo of the night. Because we didn't talk about crystals. We're jumping all over the place. What we need to do is like make an outline for how we're going to talk about this show. But it's more fun to just kind of hop all over the place and talk about things. So like Crystal's promo literally lit a match and threw it in a bucket of gasoline.
Yeah. I mean, again, as you said, she started off the show with kind of her little practice promo, and then when everything happened, when Ace kicked her to the curb, and they brought up that this was so WWF too, like the poll. Oh, we need to take pictures so they can show the crowd and everything. I was like, oh my God, this is so WWE,
right.
WWF. And then when she takes over again, Wild Bill on that devil on her shoulder,
right?
Like when they were signing autographs, gave her that confidence and that little nudge she needed to really set things afire.
The best thing is when they were signing autographs and the kid asked Ace to sign it and he signs it and she goes, you might want to make sure he spelled that right. Those 3 little letters are hard.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, she's jilted, man. I mean, she was into Ace and thought they had something and then they don't or didn't. And he, he's just, I don't know. All right, so let's say let's just go with 5 snap shins. What do you give this one?
I give this a 4. Like I said, I think this was Stephen Amell's best performance so far in this series. He had a lot of chance to shine. Mm-hmm. Also, I thought Crystal was great in her promo and selling the hurt that she's feeling because Ace is garbage. Mm-hmm. I thought Wild Bill really solidified himself as a true heel, like you said. Yeah. I'm really curious to see where Rooster goes. I just hope it's not. Yeah. I hope they show restraint with what they do with him. I'll just put it that way.
Stealing my word.
Yeah, I know. And that's why I could give it a 4. It could have been a 4 or 5 for me, but that was a big swing and miss they did when they had Ace go as far as he did. And that was just one of those things I feared would happen. I was hoping the writers would have enough, just have enough trust and creativity in doing something other than something cheap like that. Yeah. So that's why it dropped a half a point for me.
I give it a 3.75. Just because I told you, I understand why people rated this one so high. This was not my favorite episode. Yeah. While I liked what happened, I don't like the way they're getting to where they need to go. I think again, this is where not having someone to root for in this show. If we had someone to actually root for in this show, we would have 100%. I would have 100% been able to give this a higher score, because Bobby's not someone who we rooted for. I mean, Bobby's he's just a nice guy.
Yeah.
Plain and simple. So, I don't
know. He's one of those characters that it's like there's no reason and again, it doesn't come across as false. It comes across as that's just who he is. It's just a nice guy. And to watch that happen to him, and it just, like I said, there's no way Ace can come back from this by a season's end. There's just no way.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, who knows if they'll get a season 2? Who knows if we'll get a season 2?
Yeah.
So.
All right. So let's move on to the next topic if we have to.
Do we have to?
Yeah, we do. So yeah, Why the Last Man? Finally, after years of being in development hell, the show finally came to the small screen. So Why the Last Man is based on the comic by Brian K. Vaughan and Pia Guerrera that ran from 2002 to 2008. It was 60 issues long, which is 5 years. It's one comic a month. I think they took a couple of months off here and there during the time. But I'm gonna say that where the similarities between the comics begin and end is 1, the name, 2, the names of the characters, and 3, it's a plague that kills anything with the Y chromosome on the planet.
Yeah.
From there on out, this is very I told you. I mean, the way if for anyone who has asked me about this, I have told them this is the compendium to the comic book series about what's happening while Yorick and 355 are on their journey.
Yeah.
But I found this article on Slate about how it changes the comics, and I just want to read. I want to read the part of this first. Bit of it. It says, the premise is pretty simple. A plague kills everything, every living thing on Earth with a Y chromosome in a matter of days, except for one extremely lucky man and his helper monkey. The comic book ran for 60 issues. Blah blah blah. It says it's a real time capsule today, full of ass-kicking strong female characters in the Joss Whedon mold and the vintage aughts Vertigo Comics raunch. The source material is also very much a comic book rather than a graphic novel, a fast-moving serial story that is constantly jumping all over the world and rapidly introducing and killing off characters at a pace that is ill-suited for the current television production model, with season-long arcs and A-list stars. So it says here also, for the TV version, showrunner Eliza Clark made 3 major changes. The tone has been changed from the aught comics to high production value cable series. I'm going to question that for a second.
All right, very questionable.
Secondary characters have been added to help update the show's politics for the 2020s. And some characters' backstories have been fleshed out in ways that make them more realistic. And then it goes through their breakdown. Okay, so in the comic book, the main character is a guy named Yorick Brown, who is 100% a loser. He's he's got agoraphobia. He doesn't like to go out. We actually don't see him leave his apartment for quite a while through the first couple issues. The other thing is that this whole plague, like, they played this out for the first 45 minutes of the first episode, and that was the exact wrong move.
Yes,
they should, like, the comic starts with Yorick is on the phone with his girlfriend who's in Australia, and all of a sudden they get cut off, and then it jumps. There's just time jumps throughout the book that they should have taken into account into the show, instead of doing this real time. This is not, so as much as Battlestar Galactica is a show about politics that happened to be in space, this is a show about politics that is masquerading around the idea that it's a comic book adaptation.
Yeah. And one of the things that one of my first notes, this is another example of an adaptation in name only.
Yep.
I was going to, before today, I was looking at it as just from my standpoint of like without any backstory of the comic, this is not well done. This is not a good story.
Well,
it's not. The characters are weak. It's just not well done.
Well, this Slate article
right now
too is like, because the TV show doesn't cram quite so much plot into its episodes as the comic book, it's York has to spend less time doing inexplicable things to serve the plot, which means its Yorks feels like more of a complete person. This is crap. This York is the idea of a feminized male who is crying for his mommy, and when he finds her, all he does is sit in her lap and cry.
They actually sleep in the same bed like he's a 5-year-old.
I was so disappointed in these first 3 episodes. Like Hero's one of my favorite characters from the comic book. She's a badass. She's the badass. They're like one of the 2 badasses that they're talking about when they're talking about these badass women. In this book, she or in the show, she actually kills her boyfriend.
Yeah.
Kills him.
Because she's mad that he didn't tell her
because
that he didn't tell his wife.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That did not
That's
happen
character assassination right there.
Correct. Because in the comic, they were very much in love, which made what happened to him all the more tragic, and why Hero went the way she did, joining up with the Amazons, right?
Right. Yeah.
And like now she's got like a trans best friend who, you know, is like all concerned about testosterone, and you know, in the original book, when they found, you know, just trans people, like they were killed because they thought they were men, and they weren't like, you know, I mean, this became like the whole world became very anti-male very quickly, and I feel like it became even more quickly in the show. But you know, the whole idea that we're following these people around it's just like, you know, we've wasted so much time. It's going to be like 10 episodes, right? They're again planning on, you know, lots of extra seasons. I'm thinking, I don't know. But I feel like that's what they're going for. But like even Diane Lane, I'm sorry, Diane Lane's best days are behind her.
She offers, like, as a character who is supposed to be this congresswoman who becomes the president, which again, well, we can talk about some of the changes from that in the book. She was, I mean, granted, she was leading the charge from the White House in the comics, but she seemed like someone that was a leader.
Yes.
In there. This version does not. This version, I don't know what they were going for with this version. And the whole thing with her husband, and, you know, it wasn't necessary. But like even that, like it's more about her, like let's focus on her performance. She does not exude any type of leadership quality for someone of her station.
No, she's very much the tyrant that you see from the current version of her political party.
Yes. And we'll talk about her more, but Agent 355, I mean...
Again, this is a character that we should know nothing about, other than she's highly capable of doing what needs to be done to do the right thing. And instead, like, it opens like with her, when we first meet her, she's undercover with a right-wing extremist. Yeah. And it's like, come on, barf. You know, like, I mean, like, spoilers. I'm not watching any more of this crap.
I'm not either. Like, I had to struggle through these episodes. I struggled through these episodes. Yeah. And I'm not going back. I'm not. Right. It's just, and again, it's the whole, like when you read, they were talking about, you know, to update the politics or whatever. It's absolutely a joke, the writing and how they do some of these characters. Like, I think it was Amber Tamblyn who was playing the president's daughter,
Yes.
who wrote the book
Yep.
Cancel Culture.
Yeah.
And they make her like she's there for the jokes because she is on, like, she's representing the conservatives.
Right.
And then then they talk about who, I forgot her name, but who's technically in line with
the actual
being the next
person who should be president. And
and they say, well, the president used her because they needed her far right votes or something like that, or white supremacists,
like even racist vote too, or something like that.
Yeah, and it's I'm so tired of lacking talent. You lack the talent so much you can't be subtle with things.
Right.
There have been shows that do politics well. Most shows don't. And again, part of those shows, it's always it's always like and even in the comic, there are actually some funny lines where it's like when the first attack of the White House, and again, going back to Yorick, he found his way into the White House himself.
Yeah, right. Yes.
He had agency.
He found a way to get there. And here they had to go save him from a goddamn sewer.
Yeah. And
it's just like, this is one of my favorite comics of all time. Like this is in my top 10, 100%. Right. And part of the reason I like this book is I like Yorick because he's kind of a doofus, but he's a very capable doofus. Like he gets them out of more weird situations in the book because of his inane knowledge of ridiculousness and the fact that he's a magician.
Yeah.
And in this one, he's trying to teach a kid magic and he can't pull the trick off. Again, in the comic, he can't pull that trick off, but it's because he's trying it for the first time.
Right.
Right. Sorry.
No, it's just, I'm comparing this to Invincible, and I understood why you didn't like Invincible. I honestly, with Invincible, if I didn't read the comic, although I had issues, I would have issues with Invincible with some of the characterizations, even if I didn't read the comic. I see why people like that. This is just bad all the way through.
Yeah.
I don't mean as an adaptation. It's even worse if you're counting on it as an adaptation. It's
right.
It's dog meat or whatever you want to call it as an adaptation. Mm-hmm. Far worse, at least to me, than Invincible was. But as its own thing, I don't see how people, because it's slow moving. There are no compelling characters.
Yeah.
None. Like you have all these morose characters. Yorick is a little punk. Mm-hmm. He's nothing like he is. And again, when I say nothing like he is, he doesn't have to be exactly like he is in a comic, but show some of the juice he had in the comic, and some of the, just like you said, he's a doofus. He says dumb stuff, but he has this energy about him that affects everyone that's around him. And you don't have that here. He just brings everyone down.
Right.
And there is no character that stands out in a positive manner in this. It was kind of like how we mentioned in Heels in that first episode, except we did have Crystal.
Right.
We did have Bobby. We did have Staci. This one, you don't have anybody. And this is not just like we're rating the first episode. This is 3 episodes.
I'm talking about all 3. I'm not like, talking about.
That's a good sample size. Of a 10-episode season, 3 episodes is a very good sample size for you to determine where this show is going. It's the same thing. If you watched our ratings of Heels, the first 3 episodes, the second one goes better than the first, and the third one's better than the second one. This one just ran through in the sense of it didn't build, it didn't get better, it just got worse, honestly.
Yeah. 100%. You kept texting me, oh, I have to get through this, but this is all put through the lens of men are evil.
Mm-hmm.
Women should be running the world. Which, honestly, it should be like equal, but you can't say that anymore. But the real problem with this show is like this Slate article talks about how it's high product. It's a current TV production model of a high production value. the show happens in 4 different rooms for the most part.
Yeah.
There's a few scenes that happen outside. There was one scene with the helicopter landing. That's about it. That's the production value for the show is just taking like zombie mannequins from The Walking Dead and laying them throughout the they're not even in the White House, whatever building they're in. You know, and then wrapping them in plastic. Yeah. That's the production value that they're calling high production value. But yeah, it doesn't have any of the fun. Like fun as of half of the population. You know, I mean Thanos. This is probably his favorite comic book. But like I want to get back to Hero, because Hero in the book is like lives up to the name Hero. She is very much a character who she's an EMT for a reason. Here she's a struggling addict. She's
she killed her boyfriend.
She kills her boyfriend, right? She refuses to let herself be found by her mom and everything. And because of when I thought his name was Dan. I don't remember the boyfriend's name now. I really don't care. When he dies, because she's in Boston, she's not in New York. Like everybody's in New York, right?
Mm-hmm,
when
right.
when he dies, and she joins the Daughters of the Amazon. Like this is a huge moment for this character, and she eventually comes around back to herself, but she has a legitimate story arc. And here she's just sad, and she's not taking any accountability for what she's done.
No, she's not. And even taking away from the comic book, and we're talking about Ace and not being redeemable. She killed, I don't care if it's an accident or not, she swung and killed someone because she was mad that he didn't tell his wife they were seeing each other. You knew he had a wife. You knew he had just had a kid. That is the lowest of the low right there.
Mm-hmm.
And you're expecting us to get behind that, or expecting fans to get behind a character that low?
Well, that's the thing, is the modern audience does get behind this kind of character because she doesn't have any kind of accountability. She's the prototypical female character now.
Yeah.
I don't know. The other thing I was reading about is with the Daughters of the Amazon in the show, they're going to be really different. Instead of being led by Victoria, who was, I think a literature professor or whatever, or maybe history. Now Missy Pyle is going to play a character that's a former police officer who distrusts men, and because of her professional experiences.
See,
why? So, and then it says also in this Slate article, it remains to be seen how successfully the TV show will be able to sell Hero's heel turn. She killed a motherfucker in the first episode. What is your definition of heel, Slate? Oh, I'm guessing it's something that starts with orange and bad.
Yeah.
Like this is, I mean, this is the worst kind of propaganda. This is stuff that if you like this show, please email me, contact@infamospodcast.com, and please explain to me what it is you liked about this show. Did you read the comic or not? And what did you like or dislike about the comic? Because I'm sorry, Why the Last Man is a masterpiece. Brian K. Vaughan is a master at sequential storytelling. And the fact that his name is listed on this show as an executive producer makes me want to throw up.
And I wonder how much pull he had in what they created here. I didn't read. Have you read anything?
But if this is the reason we're not getting more Saga, I'm pissed off.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm pissed off at the fact that Saga's been on break for 2 years, if this is the reason.
Yeah, and I remember when we first got this, like the teaser for this, before I read anything about it, because I had forgotten about it, because like you said, it's been in development hell for a long time. And I got it was like a 30-second teaser or something. I was like, okay. And that was before I read any single thing about what they were doing behind the scenes and updating it or updating the politics and all that bullshit. And then I saw the real trailer, and then I read articles about it, and that my excitement for this plummeted.
It's fan fiction.
And
this show is fan fiction. It's not even good kind of fan fiction that you can take and be like, well, this was Twilight fan fiction, but now we're going to call it 50 Shades of Grey because it's so perverted. No, but like the whole thing, the whole thing with them in the Pentagon, that is all made up.
Yeah.
It is all made up. And the fact that like these women are still so partisan, because in the comic they were not. One of the interesting things in the comic is the senators and representatives, like the Republican ones whose husbands died, they like came to reclaim their seats, which they're legally allowed to do. Yeah. And Jennifer Brown was not going to let them, but then the woman who eventually assumed the president, who was supposed to be president, like she was like, hold on, like let's talk this out. And and then Jennifer was like, oh yeah, let's talk this out. In this, she is 100% a tyrant with a council of tyrants that is you know, every shade of skin color that you can
diversity
ask for.
That's what it is.
This is the most superficial show. This is, and like here's the thing, is the actual Why the Last Man comic is a celebration of feminism and how women came together to make the world run. In this, it's partisan Karening at a level that I just do not understand. And Eliza Clark is the showrunner for this. I just had her IMDb pulled up. But yeah, she's just like, I don't get it. I think, she's going to be celebrated as some sort of like auteur with a vision. And it's like, you're writing bad fan fiction. Like I told you, like this is a compendium to the show. But I mean, she was a producer. She's a producer on that show, or was a producer on that show, Animal Kingdom. That's on TNT, which I think is pretty good from what little bit I've seen of it. She was a writer on The Killing for a year, which I didn't like The Killing, but it had nothing to do with the writing. It was a particular actor who I don't care for and care to watch. But I mean, she hasn't really written a ton of stuff. I mean, she's got 2.
And 6, she's in that Extant. She did 11. Some stuff with the Extant show with. No,
not the Expanse. Yeah, Extant.
Extant.
Yeah. But so she's got 10 episodes. Oh, I'm sorry. She's got 5 writing credits with a total of 10, 21, 23. So she's got under like 30 episodes of television under her belt. And she is the showrunner, executive producer for this show. She's got 3 production credits as far as TV series go, with Animal Kingdom and then Extant. And she wrote a little bit for The Killing. She was a story editor for The Killing, and she was a assistant writer for Rubicon, which I think that was on Cinemax.
Yeah, I've never. I don't know anything about that.
But again, like these are all entry level jobs that they're giving to people who are unqualified because they tick some sort of a box.
Yes. And like you said, like her being celebrated. What do you think people that like us say, hey, I don't like this show for these reasons? What is the first thing they're going to call people like us?
Oh, we're misogynist and racist and, whatever kind of phobes. But here's the thing. If this show was, again, like we're talking about, the level of difficulty. The level of difficulty to do this show well, even if you want to add more context about what's happening in Washington, D.C., is a 2.
Yeah. And why?
Because it's easy. This is an easy, we mostly live in this dystopia right now. But they've instead of making this large expansive story, they've taken it in and they've made it this political drama that does not need to be the focal point of the show. And all this does is divide more.
100%.
So this isn't about. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say it's the writing. It's lazy. It's creatively bankrupt. It took something powerful, well done, and twisted it to their own freaking narrative that they wanted to get out there. And the legacy of this, not necessarily this property, because there are a lot of people that have never heard of this comic that are going to see this, and I think a lot of people are not going to like this. They're like, "What is this?"
This is a comic book that ended 13 years ago. And here's the thing: as much as I love the comic, there's a point in the comic where it meanders, and it meanders because
absolutely it does.
It focuses more on Ampersand and less on Yorick and less on 355. But they gave no context to what and they didn't even call it the Culper ring. I forget what she called it, but the word Culper was in there. But the Culper ring is like, it may or may not exist. I don't know. It's like one of those like secret societies that like was allegedly started by George Washington.
Right.
And like, where's the context to that? Like that gives it so much more. I'm gonna steal your word, gravitas. And I mean, like, seriously, that is the exact reason why he did that in the book. And I'm pretty sure it's a real thing. And I'm not even gonna bother looking it up. But actually, I'm gonna look it up.
It's real.
But yeah, it's the Culper ring. The Culper ring was a network of spies active during the American Revolutionary War, organized by Major Benjamin Talmadge and General George Washington in 1778 during the British occupation. The name Culper was suggested by George Washington and taken from Culper County, Virginia. The leaders of the spy ring were Abraham Woodhull and Robert Townsend, using aliases Sam Culper Sr. and Sam Culper Jr., respectively. Talmadge was referred to as John Bolton. Oh, that's interesting. But yeah, so I mean, the idea that the Culper ring started in 1778 and was still a thing, right? That's cool. That is really cool. And it adds so much more depth to the character of 355, and the fact that she's super mysterious, and we don't learn any of this about her for the most part until way later in the run. But they just, again, there's no slow burn. The only slow burn is how slow the episode plotting is. They don't like modern storytelling, and this is happening in comics too. And this is like, with lots of writers, even ones we like, they just decide to like just throw it all out there instead of saving reveals.
Yeah, and this is what I was going to say before you even said that, and that really highlights it, is that they don't trust their ability to write a character that's compelling, that not very little about, and still can be able to connect with them.
I'm going to make one addendum to what you just said. They don't have the ability to write a character that you care about and give them the depth that you need in which to care about them.
That's actually better. That's better phrased.
Yeah, it's just these people do not have the ability to be storytellers because they're not interested in telling stories. They're interested in telling a narrative, and they're interested in putting their ideology front and center, self-inserting as much as they possibly can. And it's not just this show. It's not. I mean, I don't think, like, looking back at Heels, right? I'm sure Alexander Ludwig is a very nice man. He's a very nice young man, Darryl. Here's a hard candy, Alexander. But I like, Stephen Amell, we know is a very nice man. Like, he had an incident on a plane where he drank too much and got into a yelling match with his wife, and he immediately apologized. He's like, oh, and he took care of that. You look at these people, and they all they can do is self-insert their own political ideology and their own, in a lot of cases, lack of moral fortitude into these things. And, it's just ridiculous. And when this first came back about, right, a couple of weeks ago when that trailer came out, and everyone's like, oh well, it's gonna change the dynamic of how we look at men and women. Really? I feel like the title of the book tells you everything you need to know about the difference between men and women in this universe of this book. I'm not even going to talk about like the real world. In the universe of this book, a man with a Y chromosome dies from the plague. Women with 2 X chromosomes are fine.
It's really that simple.
It is literally that simple. And the great thing about the book is they don't have to stretch to find like female heroes in this world. They're there. Because even Dr. Mann, who turns out to be a bit of an asshole in the comic, not going to lie, like, they're like, oh, well, we can't go with her. She doesn't have the right politics. Fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you. Sorry. I mean, fuck you.
Yeah. It's gotten to the point, and when we're talking about adaptations of comic movies and stuff like that, they are perverting these, like the original properties, with their lack of skill and lack of creativity, and they're just making things worse because of it. And then what they do is, like I said, if with the people that don't like this, they're going to be called all sorts of names just because I don't like this. Just go by what I say about what this is. Don't try to, psychoanalyze me as a person. I said I don't like this because of X, Y, and Z. That's all you need to know. Mm-hmm. That's all it really is.
Yep.
That's unfortunately that's where things are, where there's always, in one of these type of shows or movies that are specifically written with a certain ideology in mind, if you go against that, no matter how bad it is,
right?
Like if it's objectively bad, if you talk about it, you're some ist,
right?
And that is maddening.
Like, I mean, you want to talk about like female storytellers. There's plenty of great ones out there. There really are. Like, one of my favorite directors of all time is Catherine Bigelow.
Mm-hmm.
And not just because she, directed Point Break, but did you ever see K-19, The Widowmaker?
No, I never saw that.
So she directed that one. That movie it's about submarines. I'm a sucker for submarine movies. It's great. She did The Hurt Locker. Great. She did Zero Dark 30. Great. But the best movie that she ever did was Strange Days.
Oh, I love that movie. I remember that in college.
Days, that like, what's her name? She was T'Challa's mom in
Angela Bassett.
No, Angelica Angela Bassett. Thank you. Like Angela Bassett in Strange Days is
I love
like, Mace Mason there. Like, she's an amazing character. She's an amazing, well-developed character. Where is any of that? Where are the female creators who are going to look at what they're writing and say, let's make this person amazing. Let's not make this person me. Let's make this person amazing. And go from there. All right. We're at an hour and 8 minutes. I'm gonna call it.
Let's call it the time of death was.
The time of death for Why the Last Man, according to the Infamous Podcast, is 8:58 a.m. or p.m. on Friday, September 17th. All right. Out of 5 capuchin monkeys stuck in the sewer, what do you give it?
If I knew nothing about the comic, I would give this a 2. I still don't think it's a good show. It's like the pacing is wrong, no strong characters, there's no creativity in the writing or anything like that. So it adds in of itself, it's bad as a 2. Being someone who's read the comic and, just before this has caught up with almost like 2 of the trade paperbacks. So like the first year of the comic, pretty much, I give it a 1. It's just that bad. And it's such a perversion. It assassinates all these characters from Yorick to Beth, who actually And
we didn't even talk about Beth.
Yeah,
Beth goes back to Cleveland.
Who is super unlikable in the time she is on screen.
In the 7 minutes of screen time she had, which was 7 minutes of York screen time, she was insufferable.
Yeah,
and in the comics, she's amazing.
Yeah, like she has a light about her when her and York are talking. The whole first issue is mostly them on the phone talking, interspersed with everything going on.
She's on the satellite phone and bounding through Australia. I mean, it's so. Yeah. I mean, it's such a good character, and again, these are people who do not have any affinity for the source material. They just have the intention to destroy. And with that said, I am going to give it a -7 out of 5.
Wow.
I'm sorry. No, I've watched too many of these properties that I love get destroyed.
Yeah. And it's one of these things where, like I said, I understand why, like, as a lover of the Invincible comic, I did not like the show. Mm-hmm. But I could understand why, and I could point to things and tell people, hey, this part is cool. This part is cool. Mm-hmm. This is cool. Even though I didn't like it, this is cool. There is nothing in this show that I can point to and say, you know what? This was okay.
Ooh, I can. It's when the end credits started at the end of every episode. No, I mean, with Invincible, you're right. There were a couple really cool spots that we got to see kind of visualized from the comic book. But at the end of the day, the reason people like Invincible is because it is gratuitous violence.
I would agree with that. Yes.
That's the plain and simple.
Yes.
Right then and there.
Yes. Yeah.
No.
And that's coming from two people who read the comic, and the comic was not, rated PG.
The comic is not as gratuitous as the first.
But the comic is.
But it is 100%. It is 100% gratuitous with the violence, because Ryan Otley draws hanging entrails better than anyone on the planet.
The best in the business.
He is the Chris Jericho of drawing decapitated, eviscerated bodies.
Yeah, I'm so glad that I'm done with this show. I am going to make sure that it doesn't show, because I don't want to be reminded of this show. On Hulu.
I did not add this to my playlist. I have downvoted it so it won't show up, and I apologize for making you watch this.
Yeah, it's. But we're cleansed now. It's over and done with, and on to good stuff. Let's next week we'll find something great that we can just gush about. Hopefully it'll be Heels, but even if it's not Heels, we'll find something else.
I think Heels will be good. I like where Heels is going, just because I, as a fan of television and as a fan of wrestling, did not like the way it happened, because usually when you hurt someone in the ring, it's for a reason. Not just for no reason at all. Ask Hulk Hogan. I that was part of my issue. But yeah, I mean, I still gave it a 3.75. I mean, that's a solid B.
Oh yeah, that's
there.
strong.
But yeah, it's or B-. But this is just irredeemably stupid, and it's criminally boring, and just again, TV studios, movie studios, comic book studios, whatever. If you're going to hire someone to video game companies, if you're going to hire someone to lead these projects, please hire someone who has an affinity for them and wants to tell a story in a different medium, but not destroy the host.
Yeah. And yeah, that just seems like what's in now is doing that. You can go with, the comics, you can go with stuff like Masters of the Universe. And
I'm going to say this right now. This is not just women who do this. Men are
no, not at all. No,
I mean,
no.
Definitely when you're looking at this show, a woman like Eliza Clark, you look at He-Man, a woman like Kevin Smith, But like you look at like what Tom Taylor is doing, what Tom King is doing, and unfortunately, I feel like the praise we've been giving Tom Taylor lately might be coming to an end. Even though I do like Tom Taylor, but like we were just at the Cincinnati Comic Expo, and I was talking to this wonderfully nice woman who wrote a great little comic book about a demon or a guy who's infected with a demon or whatever, who when people are nice to him, he's a human. When people are mean to him, he's a demon. It's pretty cool. And the character happens to be bisexual. Now, when
what was the first thing when you said that? Like,
I said
gave that spiel to me.
I was like,
I was like, that was the first thing I said when you told me. I was like, that sounds interesting.
So here's the thing, though, is when she was describing the book to me and my 14-year-old daughter, she said, this is a guy who, when people are nice to him, he's human, and when people are mean to him, he's a demon. And did not mention the sexuality of the character at all. We were looking through like Haley was reading the book on the way home, and it's like, oh, cool, you know. There's no reason to be upset by that because this is her own character. And when you create your own characters, you make them as interesting as you can possibly be. And honestly, adding that layer to the character is interesting.
Yeah. And the way she gave you the little snippet of what it's about, and the fact that she did not put one of those checkbox descriptors in there tells me a lot about her too.
Right. And she's not trying to indoctrinate my kid. She's trying to tell a good story.
Yeah. And that's all we ask for. That is all we ask for. And I understand. We both understand that everything is not going to be for us.
I don't need everything to be for me. But the things that were for me, do not make them not for me.
Yeah. And there's plenty of movies I've seen where it's like, I can admit, look, I don't like the movie, but I can absolutely 100% see why people like this. I've done that a lot.
Yeah.
And I understand everything's not for me, but make it a good story. And like you said, stop with the alienating of a segment of the population, not because it's like, say it's My Little Pony or something that's directed towards kids. I mean, a willful and purposeful alienation of segment of the population for the simple matter of it fits your ideological principles. And that's the problem where I have with a lot of this stuff, is that you can see the malice and the immorality that's put in there because, and I call it immorality, is because the reason they're doing this, they're not doing it for a story. Yeah. They're doing it to divide. And I have it's serious issues with that. And I always will.
Yeah. And when you have companies like Slate not being able to accurately look at what's happening and give a realistic review of something and saying like, oh, almost nothing has changed. That's part of the problem.
Yeah. That's just a damn lie. That's a lie on top of a lie.
Yep. The person who wrote this probably was not like reading in 2008, let alone in 2002 when the book started. But yeah, it's just one of those things where, yeah. Anyway, all right. On that note, November 8th, we're going to move this to the front of the episode at some point. But November 8th, Fretboard Brewing, we are going to be doing a show. We will have a special guest who is going to help us talk about toys. But the most important thing is we are going to be doing a event for toys. Or not an event, but we're going to be gathering toys for Toys for Tots. So keep an eye on the website and actually follow us on Facebook so we can, especially if you're local to Cincinnati, so we can invite you to the event.
Yeah, I really like Fretboard.
Yeah, man. So. I'm dreaming about those wings.
Those were pretty good.
I might just go tomorrow.
So we're like the cheese, like the cheese curds or whatever.
Yeah, I'm getting cheese curds.
Some of those.
I'm getting cheese curds next time because I got the fries and it was just way too much, and I should not have been eating all of them. So, anyway, all right. On that note, we'll talk to you all next week.
See ya.